Hey guys, what's up? Alright, so we got another video on King's Court because we need to talk about what cards will be collector's rares and what cards we should probably look out for in this set. So starting out with collector's rares, you can see, hopefully, it might be a little bit small for you guys, but I did write a list of the potential collector's rares that I at least foresee. I did not get to 15. Normally there will, if past trends have indicated anything, is that we get 15 collector's rares in these size sets, deck building sets, whatever you want to call them. I didn't reach 15. I didn't really want to stretch it, because that would just be blank guesses. These are actually cards that I feel really confident in actually being collector's rares. So we're going to start out with the new Joker cards. I do think that 𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗥𝗧 and Joker's Knight will be collector's rares. Joker's Knight just seems like a lot of people are hyped for it. People want it because it's somewhat generic. You can splash it in a warrior deck, level 5 deck, or a light deck, and just kind of have a free special summon. You do have to include queens, kings, and jacks in your deck, but people kind of seem happy with this card, and I do think Konami would give the newer cards some love with the upgraded rarity. So Joker's Knight, I think, is almost 100% a given. The other card I feel that is 100% a given is going to be 𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗡𝗅. First of all, anime titties sell. So of course they're going to try to hype up the set or hype up this card, hype up this archetype with the newer or like the new-ish rarity, because I think we've had this rarity for like a year now, so it's a new-ish rarity and it'll really hype up the set. However, I don't think they're gonna use collector's rares or waste a spot for collector's rares for too many of the newer Joker cards or face cards, because the other ones are spells that are typically don't do well with higher rarities unless they're really, really, really good. If past sets like Ancient Guardians have any indication, the ones that people really like are the monsters. The spells, if they're really good, they do sell higher, obviously because they're good, but overall they're not that sought after because they're spells and traps, not monsters. Moving on, we have F-Zero on my list, and this is also, I'm going to say 100% a given because it's a sought-after archetype, or I should say an archetype that people like, that seem to like. Not me in particular, I really don't like Utopia, but I do see people, getting hyped for this. It's also a really broken card that's not just going to be used in Utopia decks, so, that does help this card out because if it's sought after, because it's broken, then a collector's rare is probably in the works as well. Konami kind of knows a little bit about their fan base, so, it's probably going to be a collector's rare. Then moving on, we have Guilty, which is probably going to also be a collector's rare, and the reason I say that is because out of all the other imports, this is a monster, first of all, and it's also a decent monster that people in Warrior can splash in Warrior decks. It's a super poly target. It's not, I don't think it's, personally, this is my opinion, I don't think it's the best card in the world, but for a Warrior deck, it's decent, and if you do use super poly, it's gonna have a decent effect as well, where you can attack twice and kind of just try to swing over your opponent's board or whatever. I do see this also in a collector's rare. It would look pretty darn cool because the artwork is pretty nice on this card. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, there you go. Really cool looking card in a collector's rare would be amazing. Besides that, though, in the import department, I don't think they're gonna go with anything else. Maybe Morph King 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗟, but I didn't put him on the list because that's a stretch for me personally. I'm not too confident on that one. Let's see. Let's move on here. We have two reprints for the old face cards: Arcana Knight Joker and Arcana Extra Joker. I do think that if not both, then at least one is going to get a collector's rare, just because, I mean, it's the set that's featuring the face cards. I don't think they're gonna do collector's rares for the OG face cards, like the OG face cards. I mean, why would you do a higher rarity on a normie that's not, you know, a blue eyes dark magician and all that stuff, when you can do a higher rarity on another card that's decent. You know, I just don't see that happening. Also, these cards are pretty decent as well. They're not the best, but I mean, the archetype itself isn't going to be the best. It's not going to be, you know, topping or anything on its own. So I do see them using the higher rarities on these two, if not one of them, because it's the set that they're featured in. Moving on, we have Utopia, because when I first went over the set list yesterday, in yesterday's video, I was kind of questioning why they put Utopia here. They did include more support or more cards geared for Utopia. I think there's like 7 at least, not counting Utopia. So it kind of makes sense from that perspective, but at the same time, thinking about it, it also doesn't really make sense, because I feel like they could have just reprinted this in the new Battles of Legends, the Brothers of Legends, or whatever they called it, because Utopia should be getting the structure deck imports there. If not, then there's going to be a structure deck geared for Utopia where this is going to be reprinted. So all in all, it doesn't make sense that this particular card is getting reprinted in this set unless they're going to give it a higher rarity. And that's why I put it in my list, because I do think they're going to pull a Stardust Dragon here. If you don't remember, Stardust Dragon in Toon Chaos last year was a collector's rare, so I think Utopia will get the same treatment here. So, okay, so moving on, we have Rhoda. I don't have a lot of spells and traps on the list, mainly, again, because higher rarity and spells and traps is kind of like okay, but I do think a lot more people like the higher rarity and monsters, because they're on the board longer, at least, you know, especially boss monsters. So, but the reason I'm saying Rhoda is because it's a pretty big staple in warrior decks. It's also, I mean, it's limited for a reason, right? It's a really, really good card, and I don't think it definitely hasn't been a collector's rare, and it has been a gold rare. I do remember that. I think it was the first gold set, but I haven't seen Rhoda being reprinted in higher rarities in recent time, so I think it's going to get the collector's rare treatment here, especially since it's also Legacy. It's a pretty old card, so I'm confident in this one too. Besides that, we can move on here to Lightning Storm. We did get a leak. I don't know how reliable that leak is, so that's why I kind of put it in my list. I do think, regardless of the leak or not, that Lightning Storm will be a collector's rare, because it's Lightning Storm. It's a really good card, and people will want it in a higher rarity because it's a really good card. So my thing here is, people either like their monsters being really high rarity, or really good cards in really high rarity, like Infinite Impermanence, for example, because people for some reason like to flex and then complain that the game is really expensive. I don't get it either, but hey, you know, whatever. Moving on, I do think, and these are my last 3, that the Wicked Gods are going to be collector's rares as well. I don't really want them to be, but at the same time, it makes a lot more sense than a lot of the other cards that we see here, just because I think they've only had one really high rarity, and it's in the Shonen Jump promos. I don't think they've had a rarity go past ultra rare. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm kind of thinking on this too, but I don't think so. So I do see them getting the collector's rare treatment, which on Dreadroot and Eraser, it's, you know, not that it matters, but I approve of that one. But on Wicked Avatar, it's a fucking ball, you know. But if one gets it, I don't see why all 3 won't get them, and it's kind of high probability, right? Because it's 3 out of like a 60 card sets here. Because again, I don't think they're gonna just make one a collector's rare and not all of them, because that makes no sense. So it's just like a numbers game here. I do think they're gonna be a collector's rare. But anyways, moving on, I want to talk now a little bit about what cards we should be buying. And I did talk a little bit about Joker's Knights in the beginning. Essentially, what I've seen, the consensus in the community is that you can splash this into a lot of different decks. Level 5 is Cyber Dragon, right? Light is also Cyber Dragon. Light in general is I think, attribute that gets as much support as Dark, but I think it's played as almost as much as Dark attributes. So there's a lot there. It's also a warrior, and therefore can fit in warrior decks. So definitely pick this up if you can, as cheap as you can, as fast as you can, because this card is probably going to be expensive as hell, pretty fast. The other one is Arcana Triumph Joker, just because if people do actually find a way to make the new Joker cards, competitive or useful or fun or whatever, this card is pretty decent. It clears the board for you, and you can OTK potentially with it, because you can easily get it in upper 3K maybe, easily 3K, 4K, 5K. I would say is also achievable, because you get a lot of recursive cards back. You can recurse real easily with this deck. You can get cards back in your hand, is what I'm trying to say here. And then besides that, we do have the imports that we should probably look at. GoldenEye's Idol is probably something you guys should pick up if it's cheap. Not because Relinquish or Thousand Eyes, the Eyes Restrict, that's what it is. Those archetypes are doing well, but just because it's a level 1, and level 1s are pretty decent, and it kind of seems like anything with Pegasus in general. I mean, we got tunes, right, from Toon Chaos that are just expensive as hell, even though they're not that good. I think Thousand Eyes Restrict, or the new Thousand Eyes Restrict, is still pretty expensive too. So I would pick this up, just to be safe. F-Zero will also definitely be an expensive card. It's a broken card. I don't know why it's that broken. I mean, it is kind of hard to get out, I guess, but I think some decks can abuse it. But yeah, definitely pick this up. The other card in this category of imports is 𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗓. You should pick it up because it's a super poly target. So if you're playing any fusion deck with super poly, and you so happen to run into someone that's playing warriors, you can just break their board relatively easy with super poly and this card. Again, I don't necessarily like the effect. It doesn't have the greatest effect, but any super poly target usually does well in the marketplace. Besides that, though, in the import department, probably the Rose cards. I don't think Black Rose, even with the new support in the previous core set, is doing the best, but I don't know. I think people really do like the Rose stuff, so I would pick them up. Not a priority, though, but I would still pick them up. The priority here will probably be 𝗦𝗦𝗔𝗟, because Synchro plays, level 1 plays, Tuner plays. Did I say that already? Yeah, Synchro Tuner, same thing, I guess. And it's a really, really good card for Synchros in general, in all seriousness, because it just takes any level, essentially, and you can work with that. It is a really good card. Besides that, maybe Burning Soul, because again, it's another synchro thing, and it does seem like they're printing higher level synchros, especially in High Speedroid, right? Are they High Speedroids? The Speedroid synchros, the new Speedroid synchros. There's a level 11 Speedroid synchro. I don't know where I was going with this, but they're in recent times, there have been higher level synchro monsters, and this really does help them out, because level 8 is not that hard to get in synchros nowadays. And also, we're getting that Stardust support, which I think is also higher level synchro monsters. So definitely, I would say pick this up as well if you're a synchro player, and hold on to it even if you don't use it, because it's probably going to do good in the long term. Besides that, let's see, in the reprint department, I don't see a lot of things that you should be picking up. Maybe 𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗏 for dinosaurs. I would pick up Cloud Castle because, again, Speedroids, and then Stardust is getting support very, very soon for us. So, and you know, it's wind. And also Machine, Speedroids, it really does fit the bill there. It could help the deck. It's also level 9, FYI, so you can use the Burning Soul card. See, I'm not seeing a lot of things. Maybe Utopic Future because you can use it to get out F-Zero, the new F-Zero. But I'm not seeing a lot of good stuff in reprints besides Lightning Storm. Yeah, I'm going to end it at Lightning Storm because I think that one's self-explanatory. It's a really good card. Right now it's like $100. It might have dropped actually, but it used to be at least $100. Really hard to get. So definitely something worth getting. That's where we're going to be leaving it, guys. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you.